AWS? See, first let me tell you what is AMI, what is custom AMI. Customize the instance that you launch from a public AMI and then save that configuration as a custom AMI for your own use. For example, I have launched a AMI by using this template. Okay, I use this template. I launched the AMI. After I launched the AMI, I did customization on the AMI, means the standard AMI I used. Then I launched it and then I customized it. After customizing, I created a AMI of that. Okay, so this AMI, if I want to share with other users, AWS users, I can make it public, and once I make it public, it will go in the community AMI. Okay, so that's managed by AWS. Now, marketplace software managed by AWS. No, marketplace softwares are not managed by AWS, Ashish. Those are third-party software. So you will have to manage, as you install it, you will have to manage those softwares. Okay. Can we download software in free tier? Yes, you can download the software in free tier. If you remember, the other day I downloaded, right, MySQL, and just to showcase you whether I'm able to reach to the internet. Okay. Can you trade my AMI? What does that mean, Jadhav? You mean to say you want to put it in the marketplace? Yes, you can do that, right? That's what I said. You have to make it public. I will show you. I will show you how can you make it public. Okay. Once you make it public, it will automatically go back in the community. It will come back here. In the community, it will be listed. Okay? Creating AMIs. Now to create an AMI, as we discussed, the same steps. First you launch the instance, then you modify, and then create the AMI. And then by using that AMI, you can relaunch the instances. So step 1, launch the instance by using existing AMI. Step 2, once it is done, customize it. I'm not going with this because it's, you will get confused with this, but I'm just giving a high level steps. Anyhow, I will show you the demonstration. So first step, launch by using the existing AMI. Second step, customize it. And then next step is again launch the create the AMI. And next step is launch the EC2 instance back. So use existing AMI to launch the instance, launch EC2, customize it, after customizing, create AMI of your customized instance. Once the AMI is created, use this AMI to launch instances. Okay, so that is the flow. Now AMI distribution. So by default, whatever AMI you have created, now after I customize my EC2, I created an AMI. So this AMI default will be private. Okay, it will be private to my account, will not be accessible by any other user. So what I can do, I can, if I want that AMI to be shared, to be distributed with other users, I can do that. So an AMI can be kept private, can be shared with a specified list of AWS accounts, or we can make it public. So I want to share with only some specific users, I can do that, or I can make it public. Okay, so it will be publicly available. Now deregistering AMI. Let's say after creating an AMI, you want to remove this AMI. Okay, I want to delete the AMI. So there is no deleting option. What you will have to do, you will have to deregister your AMI. Okay, so that is nothing but deleting the AMI. So once the AMI is deregistered, it cannot launch new instances. Now tag instances. Tagging is important part, as you have seen since yesterday. I am tagging like VPC also I created, I tagged it, and then I did subnet tagging. So tag is important thing. It's better you should tag. Tag is nothing but key pair value. Okay, key name you can specify. I was using the key name as key as a name, and value as whatever name I wanted to give for that. Okay, name equal to value. But if you want, you can use the key pair, any key pair. You can use owner as your key, and then the name of the owner. Okay, so it is like variable equal to value kind of thing. Fine. So tag instances to allow easy identification and management of AWS resources. When you are supporting different type of environment, different customer, and you have launched multiple instances, it's better that you give a meaningful tag to your instance to understand to which particular customer it belongs to. Okay, just like in this example, DB admin, the owner is DB admin, and it is for the testing environment. The other one is in the production environment, the instance. Now we come to the very first demonstration. So I will go to demo. We'll show you how can you launch and connect to an EC2 instance. Okay, though we did yesterday, but now I will give you the explanation while launching it. So let me go to EC2 dashboard. So first we will launch Linux, then we will launch Windows. Okay, both we will do. So launch an instance. Okay, before that, in which region you want to launch, that you can choose. Okay, it's again a regional service, so you can choose the region and you can check the health of your region, service health, right? So not Virginia region has 6 availability zone and all are operating normally, so I can just launch in that. Click on launch, and now you can choose the AMI. Okay, so list of AMIs are available and you can see free tier. Okay, but if you want to just list only free tier, here you have on the left side, you can click on free tier, it will list you only those AMI which comes under free tier account. That is one thing. Another thing is that under quick start, all these AMIs are there. Fine, so you can just use these AMIs, or if you do not have, as whatever AMI you require, and if it is not there in this list, you can check out in the marketplace, you can check out in the community, right? And you can make a search. Just like yesterday we wanted a NAT, right? So we search for the NAT here, and the NAT AMIs were available, right? So I will go back to quick start. Now we have a feature. I can use a Linux, Amazon Linux, or so many Linux, Ubuntu, SUSE, Red Hat. We have Windows Server 2016, right? Windows Deep Learning AMI. So many are there, right? So I will just use the first one right now. Select the AMI. Now the second step, if you see, we are supposed to choose the instance type, right? Because we are launching a machine, so we need to specify. We have selected the operating system, the template selected, but what about the configuration? How much CPU, memory, and all that we want, right? So the best practice is always when you, because here, as you know, that the benefit of cloud is do no need to do any estimation, right? We do not have to do any capacity planning before we actually deploy the resources. So you just start with the minimum, and then as required you can scale up, scale down, vertical, horizontal, how you want you can do that, right? So the different types are there highlighted, but just I want to showcase you. See here, family, general purpose. Okay, and the type name is T2 nano, T2 micro, T2 small. Different types are there. You can see the virtual CPU, how many virtual CPUs are attached to this type, how much memory is there, the whether it is instance store backed or whether it is EBS backed. Okay, and then network performance, how, what kind of performance you're looking out for. Accordingly you can choose the instance, this one, instance type, right? I'll just scroll down. If you look at the T2 micro, see, it supports one virtual CPU and 1 GB of RAM. But as I scroll down, see, after T2 nano is the smallest one, then we have micro, then we have small. So if you see here, virtual CPU 2 memory, as we go down the size is increasing. Okay, so it is like higher configuration server. So X large, extra large is there. So 4 virtual CPU, 16 GB of RAM. Now this all comes under general purpose category. Now if I click here, see all instance type, only micro if I want I can see that. Now I will select compute optimize. So now it will show me all compute family or compute optimized family instance types. Now if you want to know the use case of each of these, when to select what, it totally depends on the application what you are going to deploy and how much amount of resource you want. Or else you can just do one thing, you can just highlight point it over there, so it will show you here. See, as I point here, compute optimized instances have a higher ratio of virtual CPUs to memory than other families. Okay, so examples of such application include high traffic front end, fleet, on demand, batch processing. So for what environment it will be useful, that is that it will highlight. If I use, let's say, GPU graphics, so you can see for 3D rendering, video encoding, virtual reality, all this 3D visualization, for this such type of instances will be useful. Okay, general purpose CPU, compute optimize. Now if I go with memory optimize, right, so this will give me high amount of memory. Compute optimize will give me high processing power compared to the memory. Okay, there is a ratio. So like this you can find out which one is suitable, or start with the minimum and go with the scale up. Now I'll just go with the general category, and it is highlighted T2 micro free tier eligible, so this comes under free tier. I will go with, and you have current generation here also, current generation or all generation it should show. Okay, the type of the instance. So configure instance details. Okay, fine. So my Windows is launched now. Okay, it's in the status is running. So let's see how can we connect to Windows. Okay, now to connect to Windows, what you will have to do, you will have to click on connect. Click on connect, get the password. Fine, you have to click on the password. Okay, it is not active yet, so I'll have to wait some more time. Once it is active, it will show me it. Or let me just refresh it one sec. What happened? Okay, connect, get password. Yeah. Now it is showing the get password. Now the question was there whether the key pair file is required. So here it is required. What you will have to do, browse your key pair file. Okay, get the key pair file. Now it was there in my download folder, and the key pair what I am using is same 20th Linux which I created. I will have to choose .pem file, not ppk file. .pem file is used for Windows. ppk is, as I said, no, not Linux. Okay, to connect to Linux. Now this is, I have selected that key pair file. Okay, now what I have to do, I have to decrypt the password. Once I decrypt the password is highlighted here. Now this I will copy and paste it when I do a RDP. So I will just keep this in buffer, or I will keep this as is open. I will just do a RDP, remote desktop connection. Here I will have to specify the IP address. Okay, so let me just get the public IP of my instance. Okay, one sec, let me just, something is not working properly, just a moment. So many things are there. Uh-oh. Just a moment, guys. Get the password, browse done, decrypting it. I will copy and let me just paste it so that I will not lose this. Once again, I will not have to do that. Just a moment. Closing this, doing a RDP. Okay, before that, I'll click on description. This is my public IP. Fine, I'll copy this public IP. RDP. Pasting the public IP. Click on show options. Give administrator as the name. Login name. Administrator. Connect. It's prompting for the password. So password already I have stored it here. I'll just copy and paste the password. Click on OK. You can see now the Windows instance is launched. Okay, so I'm also there on my my Windows, my laptop has Windows 10. So from there I am able to connect to the instance, which the Windows instance, right? Okay, so you can see it's same like how you work in the environment, Windows environment, right? So let me just close this now. Understood. How can we launch both the Linux and the Windows instance? Fine. So now next step is creating an AMI. Demonstrate how to create an AMI and launch a new server from it. Fine. So I will just modify. I will do customization of my this one, my instance. So many instances are there. I'll just remove some of the instance. Anyhow, we are done with the work of VPC peering. So I will remove the source and target instance, and then we'll just leave only one Windows and one Linux. Let me see which one I created, the demo or the other one. Okay, so this is the one which I launched recently, the last one. Okay, demo also I will remove. I don't want so many because simply I'll get charged for this multiple. Where it is gone? Terminate. It is not running in multiple instances. 30 GB is the one which comes under free tier, and that has already been taken by Windows. And each Linux is taking 8 GB, right? So after some time I will be charged. So I will just remove that unwanted. Now I just kept only one instance which is in running state. So let's connect to that instance. Okay. Other instances are also selected. Yeah. Unable to deselect it. Just I'll have to wait for a moment. I want to connect to this instance. Okay, so let me just tag this instance so that it will be easy for me. Linux demo instance. Yeah, now I'm able to see the public IP of this instance. So I will just connect this and will do some kind of customization so that when we launch, when we create an AMI and we launch, we will be able to see whether it has taken the same AMI. Okay, so let me just use the putty. The key pair file which I am using for this, let me just cross check it. It is, yeah, 20th fine. So that is already been converted. SSH auth, the 20th ppk file, open. ec2-user, switching to super user, sudo su hyphen. Now I will do some customization. Let's say I will install some package and let's create a web page here. So yes, 30 GB it comes under free tier up to 30 GB. So what I will do, yeah, I will install yum install update -y yum install httpd changing it to var www.var.html. Here I will just create one HTML page, let's say index.html. Welcome to EC2 service. Okay, save, exit. Fine. Now once I create this, what I will have to do, I will have to start the service. So service httpd restart. Okay, the service is started. Quickly I will check if I can reach to this page by using my public IP. Yes, so I can reach to this page. Now what I will do, if I want this particular HTTPD service should be up and running even if this instance is terminated. Let's say if I restart this instance, next time also this service should be up. As I turn on my this one instance, it should automatically activate the service. Okay, so for that I will have to use chkconfig command. Otherwise, if I just use a normal service command, it will be only active for this particular instance for this session. As I terminate, it will get again stopped. So check config httpd on. There is a spelling mistake in the command. chk, not ckh, sorry. chk. Yeah. So once I'm done with this, so it will make my every time I restart, the service will be up. So yeah, now this is done. Or if you want, you can. I will just create few files in ls. If I do not have anything, so I'm just creating few files just to customize my instance. Okay, so these files are created, few directories, done. So I have created a web page and I have created few file directories. So I have done a little customization on this particular instance. Now let's take the AMI of this. Let's create an AMI. So management console. Now I want to create an AMI. So what you can do to create an AMI for this, you can click on the instance and here you have image, create AMI. Okay, before I create an AMI, I just want to show you something and then we'll come back here. So if I click on the snapshot on the left EC2 dashboard, there are no snapshots over here, right? if I click on the AMI, there are no AMIs. Means as you create an AMI, it will list over here whatever AMI you have created. And as you create an AMI, it will automatically create a snapshot of your EC2 instance. Okay, and that snapshot will be attached to your AMI. So that will be listed here. But right now it is not there. So now I'll go back. I will create the AMI. Now this is my Linux demo. Rest all are terminated. So I will click on action, image, create image. Now provide the image name. I will give Linux AMI. Okay, or my Linux AMI, something like that. Description if you want. No reboot. If I enable this option, it will not reboot my instance of which I am taking the AMI. Okay, now I have already logged in, right? Already I have logged in here. If I do not enable that option, okay, so what it will do, while it is creating an AMI, it will, after the AMI is created, it will automatically stop my instance. Fine, so let me not do this. I will show you will understand how it happens. And the volume, so let's go with the default 8 GB. Create image. Now see, already it has initiated the, I will just close that. Already it has initiated this one. You can see the shutdown. So server unexpectedly closed. So it has initiated the reboot process. Okay, now I'm going with the AMI. It will take some time to come here. Once the AMI is created, by using this AMI, I can launch. Is launch template similar to AMI? Where that option you mean to say, launch template? Where is the option? Okay, here, launch templates. Creating launch template. Okay, you can specify the name of your template, you can specify the description, source template. Okay, so from which, whether you want to create by using, already you have created some template, by using that you want to create another template, you can do that. You can specify your AMI ID. Okay, so you are creating a template out of an AMI. That is nothing but your launch template. Below instances where yeah, okay, I showed that. Raju says where it will store the AMI. I mean the storage we will be charged of minimum maintaining AMI for longer period. I will tell you, Rajiv. Let me just highlight that. Now the AMI has come here. The status is still pending. If I go with the snapshot, here all snapshot is also created, right? So this snapshot is created while we created the AMI. So along with AMI, the snapshot also got created, and the snapshot will be always kept on an S3 bucket. Remember that. Okay. Though from the bucket we cannot see that, but it will be stored in the S3 bucket. So your AMIs are kept in the S3. Now, it is still in the pending state. Once this is active, I will use this to create and launch a new this one instance. Well, okay, I have answered the question. If I go back this after this demo is done, okay, let's do the knowledge check because it takes some time. First snapshot will always take a time, so let's do a knowledge check, and then by the time it will be active. So we can complete the practical. Which combination of root volume type and virtualization does AWS recommend? Yeah. Okay. So HVM is the virtualization and EBS is the volume. Now next is instance type. So already I showcased you the instance types. Let me just quickly check if it is launched. If not, we will continue. Okay. AMI status is available. Snapshot is also should have been created. Yeah, completed. So it's done. Right. So now we can see how can we use this AMI to launch a new instance. Right. So I will select the AMI. It was just showing available, and how come it has gone to pending state? It's really wondering. How come the state has changed now? Okay, so it is still pending. Okay, it's still pending, guys. So let's move on to the PPT, and we will come back after some time. Okay, so it will be done. So next part of this EC2 is about instance types. So different types of instances are highlighted: compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized. So different type of instance has a different use case. So depending on the load that you are putting on an instance, depending on the application, you have to choose the instance type. Now what it says, provides a wide selection of instance types optimized to fit different use cases. It comprises of CPU, memory, storage, and network. These four resource capacity is highlighted. Okay, it is clubbed together, and the different capacity is highlighted. Give the flexibility to choose the appropriate mix of resources for application. Include one or more instance size to scale resources to the requirement of large workload. So this, since already I have highlighted that, I am not again going with the explanation part of this. Now if you see in the general purpose, we had this kind of T2 micro that we are using, then M3, M4, these families were there. So if you look at the costing part, it is very low because T2 micro is totally free of charge, but the other type under T2, T2 large is there, to T2 small is there. So that compared to other type of instances, the price is very low. The use case is like used for small to medium databases and web servers. Okay, like that we have M3, M4. So the cost and the use cases, uses of that is highlighted. Likewise, we have compute optimized. So the C3, C4, C family is a compute one, and a compute optimized will always be having a high processing power with that compared to a memory. And the applications, database application or web server, for such application we can use the compute optimized instance type. Okay, this is again R3, R4. These are all compute optimized. Then we have got memory optimized. Sorry, this the last one was the memory optimized. Then a memory optimized will have a large amount of memory with that compared to a CPU. Okay, this is always comparison with the CPU. Then we have graphic processing unit. So it is suitable for the applications which like media kind of application. Okay, video, audio kind of application, or for machine learning or graphics which requires high graphic power. So for such, this kind of instance types are useful. Then we have storage optimized. So this will give you a better IOPS. The For input output, so large amount of data when it has to be read or written, for such all such requirement, you can go for this particular type of instances, or big data kind of environment. Okay, EBS backed, EBS optimized. So different types of EBS, and each type gives you a different IOPS, right? So it is about again storage. So like this we have different types, and I showcase you the demonstration also, like where it is highlighted and how can you choose that. Okay, now coming to the knowledge checks, let's do the knowledge check, and then we will go back and see whether the uh, AMI is active. Yeah, answer this question. Okay, so for disk throughput, CCC. Okay, from the name we can make out D for disk, right? Now next part is about elastic block storage. So let me just quickly check. Yeah, it's in the available state. So now I will click on the action, or here itself I have the option launch, right? So let me launch. So now it has directly jumped. You can see it has directly jumped to the second step. It has not used the first step because already we have chosen the AMI, right? So remaining step same, no difference. So availability zone, whatever I want, fine. So I'll just continue with the remaining steps as is it. Tag, this is the name. I will give the name tag, and the value for that is uh, AMI EC2. Okay, from the AMI this has been launched. So HTTP, because I have created that web page, right? That's it. Keep your file 20th, launch it. Okay, so once this particular EC2 instance is launched, now this EC2 instance is actually image of the previous EC2 instance, right? But we created a template. So I, without logging into this particular EC2 instance, by using its public IP, I should be able to reach to that web page, the index.html, right? So we will check that once it is active. Every time we launch EC2, we need to follow all steps. Yes, we will have to follow. Even though we have taken it, created it from a template, we will have to follow these steps. Okay, the template will hold that operating system and whatever customization, what softwares we installed after the instance is up and running. So those things will be there as part of the template, but not the type of your instance. Okay, so that and the security group you will have to select it separately. Okay, so yeah, we will go back to the visuals, and then once it is initialized, we will see whether we can reach to that HTML page. Okay, now EBS already we discussed the EBS and instance store, but quickly I will tell you it's a elastic block store, and it is a block based storage, right? Block level storage wherein we can have the operating system on this. So just now we have seen our instance are EBS backed. So the complete operating system is created on the EBS volume. Okay, it is holding the root volume. So and even it is holding a file system also. You can even install the application. So since it is a block level storage and it is persistent. Persistent means it will, even if you stop your instance and start it, your data will not be lost. Okay, it will still be there. Amazon EBS is a block level storage used to create storage volumes and attached to attached to EC2, placed in a specific availability zone and are automatically replicated. Okay, replication happens, or the availability part is done by the Amazon. And we always say if I want to attach a EBS volume to an EC2 instance, I have to always keep both in the same availability zone. I will have to create an EBS in the same availability zone as what I have in for the EC2, like for which EC2 I want to do that. So both should be there under the same easy. Designed for 99.99% of availability. Backup as snapshot, so we can take the backup of the EBS volume. Again, it will take snapshot of that. Okay, used in multiple cases, file system, database, and all. Since it's a block based storage, as we discussed, it can hold file system, database, operating system. Now, different types of EBS. So, if you remember, while I was attaching one more EBS to my instance, all these types were highlighted. Few types are there under SSD. Now we have provisioned IOPS and general purpose SSD comes under this, and under HDD we have throughput, cold HDD, and magnetic. Now all this differs in the number of IO operation, the size that this type support. So if you look at the size, provisioned IOPS give you better performance, has high amount of like number of input output per second, but the price is medium compared to the other one. Okay, the lowest one is this one, the magnetic type of storage is always the lowest one. But if you look at the size, it just supports up to 1 terabyte, and the IOPS is just maximum 200 IOPS are there, input output per second. So if you want a better IOPS, a good performance, you should go with this provisioned IOPS. Okay, so just read out this particular table, go through this table. You will get some questions from this table also. Okay, the difference between the SSD and HDD. So this one comes in the highest size supported by any one of these. If you see, it is 16 terabyte is the highest one. Fine, but the provision IOPS is 20,000. Provision IOPS supports 20,000 IOPS. Okay, per volume. The maximum throughput is 320 MB. So compared to this one, but throughput also is there 500 MB per second, but it doesn't have those many IOPS. Only 500 are there. So depending on the requirement, you will have to choose the type. But yeah, as you go for provision IOP or general purpose, the pricing compared to other one, it's little on a higher side. Okay, so the dominant performance attribute is IOPS. So high IOPS, if it is required, always go with SSD bag, that is either provision or general purpose.